Well, welcome back for another episode of Whiskey Sunday, although ironically we are filming this on a Saturday. Today we have chosen just a single Scotch to try, and that is the Highland Park Ice Edition. I know Sam is exceptionally excited to try this particular Scotch.
Yeah, I am a massive Highland Park fan. For those who don't know, they generally go into lightly peated whiskeys, so it's not going to be anywhere near as aggressive as something like a Lafroig. Highland Park, for those interested, is the northernmost distillery in Scotland. It's in the Orkney Isles, in the village of Kirkwall. So, for those of you who thought it only existed in the Dragon Age game,
It's a real village in
it is in fact a
Scotland.
real village that hosts a distillery that makes excellent, excellent whiskey. So, this has been cleaning up at spirits competitions the world over, and as such is hard to come by.
And that is part of why I selected this to try over the Fire Edition, although I can't say that if this is as good as I hope it is that we don't end up trying the Fire Edition as well. This, although, has been much more highly rated with a 99 award at, which spirits competition was it, Sam? Do you remember?
I forget which one.
But I know it does have a 99, which is certainly very rare.
Yeah.
So we saved to do the unboxing on camera. It does come in a very impressive packaging. The Fire and Ice does have a story. It does follow the Norse stories. And it has the specific storyline here.
They went with the Ragnarok theming, right? So Muspel.
Yeah, frost giants, and tells about has a full background creation of Earth, the packaging that it comes in. Sam, would you like to do the honors?
Wow. Oh, this is quite the container. Comes in a little wooden box that also comes in a bag.
So we're going to have to do this in a single take apparently today because we're not going to unbox it again. We'd have to put it back, and while we have had prior episodes we've recorded where we've done multiple takes, this will not be one of those.
Wow.
Well, that is,
Well, they certainly went for style.
and I believe the ice, similar, it has the mountain except it's black instead of the more traditional wood color. Now, freeing this from the box,
It looks like, yeah,
there's a hinge in the back, it looks like. Yes. Perhaps that's supposed to be the front. This was the last one they had, so he may have boxed this inappropriately. So we do have this lovely blue bottle. And I know Highland Park has said with both the Fire and Ice edition that there's no additives to the colors or anything like that. It's just the stain on the glass, and of course we'll get a chance to see the pour.
Set this up here.
Alright. So this is of course one of 30,000 bottles that will ever be made. And it was part of Highland Park had a variety of different specific Norse editions they had an Odin edition, Thor edition, and then of course the Highland Park Valkyrie, which I believe you have, Sam.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my rainy day.
Smells very nice.
Given that we're doing this in one take, I'm going to say we're going to want to take our time with it. You know, we'll go for a sip right off the bat and then let it breathe for a little while longer.
So, go ahead and you can take a smell right out of the bottle.
Oh.
It is, I mean, there's a little smoke, but it's not, I was a little concerned that it would be a little too smoky,
Yeah.
since it is a peated malt,
Yeah.
but it does not,
Yeah, it reminds me of that first bottle of 12 that we tried, but it's much, much mellower, and it's playing much nicer with the sweeter flavors.
we are going to do generous pours here because what we're going to do is, besides taking our time with it, we're also going to try with a little bit of water. From other reviewers have noted that water does bring out some of the fruity flavors, some of the fruitier notes in the Scotch, and lessens the peat. Now I'm also going to, see me go off camera here, I'm going to pour for our producer Ethan here, since we're going to share this. It's not just for us.
That's I've never had a peated whiskey that's so delicate on the nose. It's got such nice.
Oh. Oh.
Now you can't see, but there's definitely a furrowing of the nose and the eyes from Ethan. It's definitely a peated whiskey.
I am a bit congested, so perhaps that's muting the.
It's definitely much more delicate than the Highland Park 12 that we've had. The Highland Park 12, I will say I was not a fan of.
And this coloration's gorgeous.
Yeah, the coloration of it is extremely unique.
Pale gold.
All right, should we try a sip?
Oh.
The moment of truth. It is. It's definitely a peated whiskey. You will. There's no question.
Peated whiskey.
It's.
I can feel my tongue moving down through all the layers of peat, through the generations that have amassed in that soil. We've got Ethan shaking his head.
I don't think he's even tried to sip yet.
Waxing poetic about the.
It will not go to waste. I'm sure that Sam will not let any of Ethan's.
Oh, just all of that herbal.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh.
Floral.
Now, Ethan, we'll have to try another sip when we add the water, but we'll wait to do that and try a few more sips. Let it breathe a little bit first.
Oh, and now I'm getting almost a bitter, almost a hoppy. I just went into kind of a hoppy region for a little bit there.
There's something about the texture of it to me that is different than other scotches that I've had. It's especially peated malt scotches. It's much lighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and in fairness, Highland Park, if I remember correctly, only uses 20% peated barley in the mash bill. Although this is a special release, so I imagine the mash bill's different. Aging process is going to be different than anything you'd find in their normal line. But
I get I can normally when I have a peated scotch, all I can taste is smoke and peat. I can't taste anything else. With this, I have a little bit more, and it's still hard to pick up what those specific flavor notes are. I get a little bit of vanilla. And
as soon as you say that, I mean, that is how it tends to work, but as soon as you say that, I get vanilla.
The fruits, the fruitier notes, I'm not able to distinguish quite yet.
I'm getting kind of heather, lavender almost. Coffee. Again, I get that kind of thick but still sweet soil.
I get a little pineapple. Now, so I was trying to kind of figure out what particular fruit I was tasting. But it almost seems to me to be a little more. I can get the toffee and the lavender, but as far as like the fruitier notes, I know others have described it as mango, but I mean, not being a mango fan, it's much harder for me to identify that particular flavor note.
Mango I can see. I'm actually getting kind of some of the sweeter wines we had earlier, which
But
I imagine my mind is primed for that, but I'm definitely getting that kind of sweeter, like white wine, bright.
now, I've noticed as we are recording that, because we're doing a podcast as well, it looks like our laptop may have gone into a screensaver mode here. So I'll bring that out. We are good to go. It's still going. It was simply just the screen. No. I'm going to be very curious when we add the water to see if it does bring out the fruitier notes and diminish the peat note. You're probably going to enjoy it more as is with the smokier notes. Whereas Ethan, who was repulsed
just
by
sinking into the mire.
I would describe it as like an earthier Madagascar vanilla bean and pineapple. The first thing you get off this is smoke.
Yeah.
There's no question to me.
I was getting more of the floral notes with that kind of underpinning.
And it's interesting, and I feel like those who truly enjoy peated whiskey don't get hit by the peat and the smoke like those of us who don't enjoy it as much.
Which, again, is almost certainly just a matter of taste and smell receptors, right? Mm-hmm. Various difference in concentrations. I imagine if I were that sensitive to it, it would be
No. The texture, I know this is going to sound absolutely crazy, it's almost as if there's more of that acidic nature that I sometimes get from wines or a carbonated beverage, and I think that's the texture difference that I'm getting from...
Yeah, it kind of clings to the back of your throat a bit.
Yeah. There's definitely a burn on this. It's not as smooth as other malts, for sure. And I will let you...
It's a journey, though.
Enjoy another sip or two before we try adding some water to this to see what we get. Now, we're going to do this just
I almost
by...
got creme brulee on that scent.
And I can see that with the vanilla.
Yeah.
Ethan's just shaking his head at us like, I think all Ethan's getting is smoke, right?
Disgusting. I'm sorry.
Alright. Alright, we're just going to do just a little
More for me, I won't complain.
Just a little drop. Put the water in here. Alright. I'm going to swirl that around a bit. Alright. And give Ethan a little bit of water as well to take a little sample. Get it. Alright, so we you may notice a little jump in the recording here. We had a little bit of a hiccup in our video. If you're listening to our podcast, you've heard some interesting commentary, but we are back and ready to go. We've added water to our Scotch. Not quite sure when it cut off on the video.
It gets a lot sweeter on the nose.
It does. It does get much sweeter. The smoke is still there, unquestionably.
I'm almost getting honey.
Yes.
Or just nectar. Honeysuckle, maybe. If you've ever sipped out of a honeysuckle.
It's definitely fruitier. It's unquestionable. All right. It's good.
That put a little more aggression on it. I don't mind that.
It did actually.
I don't mind that though. Which that doesn't surprise me quite so much because I thought it was interesting that people were saying that it was giving it a more fruity flavor. Because my understanding is, generally speaking, it's going to drive a lot of the hydrophobic compounds
forward. Yeah. The smell is definitely
the
fruitier
oils from the peating and
Now, I'll be curious to see the look on Ethan's face here. The rest of you don't get to see this, but we certainly do.
We should bring.
Do you want them to?
Yeah. Let's
bring his face.
Okay, the camera might change a little bit because I'm sitting next to it, so it's gonna whoop. Yep. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
So, there's a little something different, but
I'm jerked around a little bit. Look at these. You can see my legs. Okay.
Alright. So this is our producer Ethan on camera for the first time. You have heard him on our podcast.
I'm gonna save it this face for you.
So So, needless to say,
Tastes very.
peated whiskey is about as polarizing as it gets when it comes to
Oh,
the world of whiskey. Now, I guarantee you Sam will drink that entire portion tonight gladly.
God damn. Oh, fuck, no. Hell no. Guys,
No,
this is how much? How much money did this cost?
this is a $340 bottle of Scotch.
$340 bottle. If you don't like Pete, don't spend that money. But if you like Pete, Pete's your best friend, spend that money.
Now, with that in mind, Sam, is this the best peated malt you've ever had?
Certainly.
No.
Certainly. I mean, it's just because it's doing something very different from what I'm accustomed to from peated whiskeys, right? Again, going for those delicate floral notes, getting that heather, that lavender, that honeysuckle out of a peated whiskey. Which again, for me, with a little less sensitivity to peatiness, this isn't the peatiest whiskey I've had by any stretch.
No, and that's why I can actually. It is not my favorite Scotch by any means. I've definitely purchased Scotches that are cheaper. If you are not a fan of peat and you're looking to spend in the $200 to $300 range, we're going to do a Macallan tasting at some point. Macallan 18 is phenomenal in that price range. The Dalmore blends, the King Alex, that's another great Scotch that falls in that price range. But if you don't mind a little bit of peat, or you are a fan of the peated whiskey, then I think you're going to really enjoy this. I've had a few different Johnny Walkers. I've had the Lafroig 16, the Highland Park, the 12-year. I was definitely not a fan of. That was just so much peat. I honestly felt like I was drinking and smelling formaldehyde. But this just has
To be
so
fair,
much.
that first bottle we had was exceptional in its peatiness.
It was, to me, that had more peat than Lafroig 16s that I've had.
Yeah, which I have to assume, having had bottles of 12 since, because I wanted to replicate that initial experience. The bottles of 12 that I've had since have not been that aggressive. But this is truly, just in terms of the sheer variety of more delicate flavors that manage to manifest in it, because you can still get some of the prettier, friendlier flavors out of even a Lafroig if you can cut through
Yes.
the peatier stuff.
And I've had Lafroig 16 on 2 occasions, and admittedly the first time was in a tumbler glass, and I actually enjoyed it. And the second time was a bottle shot, in a courthouse parking lot. To be fair, when you're drinking Scotch out of another attorney's,
I don't know that.
Wait, no, finish that sentence. You're drinking Scotch out of another attorney's what?
trunk is what I was going for. Now that didn't meant to be taken literal, but definitely meant to be drank out of an actual glass. That just hit me like a ton of bricks with the peat the second
Yeah,
time.
that is definitely not the intended method of consumption for Lafroig.
I don't think it's the intended method of consumption for any nice Scotch.
True.
I feel like if you're going past a plastic bottle, that's not what you should drink.
Oh, this is clearing my sinuses.
This is, I like this because of the depth of flavor. And for me, that's what I enjoy about Scotch and whiskey. I can't say I enjoy the peated smoky part, but there's just so much depth to the flavor of this Scotch. The peat isn't so overpowering that I can't enjoy everything else, which is what I've had when I had the Highland Park 12. I'll be curious when you do open that bottle of Highland Park Valkyrie to see how that compares, and also how this changes after it's been given the chance to breathe after being open for a little while.
Yeah.
Because it's certainly not a bottle that's designed to be drank in a short period of time.
I should hope not.
And it's, I mean, the bottle itself and what it comes in is a piece of art in of itself if you enjoy this type of artwork. But I just, starting with the peaty smokiness to then go to, especially when you're waiting for that finish and you get those fruitier notes, to me the the pineapple, the vanilla is more of the transition flavors, so I can see like that creme brulee or the honeysuckle, those flavors. It's just so enjoyable to have that journey of flavors.
Yep.
Well, again, if you are a fan of peated whiskey, this is certainly a bottle of Scotch for you. I have to imagine at some point I will be inclined to get a hold of the Fire Edition just to complete the set. Unfortunately, the Fire is a little more expensive than the Ice.
Yeah.
That is supposed to be a little. That's supposed to be a little more powerful, but it's supposed to also have notes of vanilla and cinnamon. So I certainly hope at a $400 price point it doesn't taste like I'm drinking Fireball. But if there is
That would be the ultimate con.
cinnamon notes and
Aged in Fireball whiskey barrels. Perfect.
I don't know why that would bring up the price point, because before we got on camera we were talking about it. This is a 17-year-old Scotch. The Fire is actually a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
I don't know what barrels they were aged in, what accounts for the price difference when this is the 99 rated at the Spirits competition, and to my knowledge the Fire Edition doesn't have a rating from the
I
Spirits
have to guess it's the barrels.
That's what I would guess as well. So we thank you again for watching and listening to us on the podcast. If you watched and want to hear everything that happened in between, then certainly listen to our podcast as well. We certainly hope that you follow us and take a look at our other videos. So far we've explored Angel's Envy Bourbon. We have explored the Old Rip Van Winkle 10-year. And then we did a taste testing that was just on our podcast where we were trying gin, absinthe, and then we were trying a variety of different overseas alcohols, which Sam especially took a liking to.
Oh yeah, the Australian and Indian whiskeys in particular were gorgeous.
So, and those are hard to get a hold of.
Yep.
They are
Yes,
not easy, but it's certainly fun to be able to taste what some of the less common nations have done. Obviously, Scotland, Ireland, United States, very common places for drinking whiskey. So getting a chance to try from India, from Australia was a nice change of pace for us. So again, we thank you for watching and listening, and we hope you check out our other videos.
Thank you very much.